Everybody lies about through hiking, me included, especially on the AT. Sometimes these are outright lies. They are people saying that they had a terrible time on trail and it was the hardest thing that they'd ever done and they were insanely lonely and in pain all the time. And the reality is, buddy, I saw you eat a cheeseburger in town and smash a six-pack like 2 days ago. And then on the flip side, there are people telling lies about through hiking because they did the trail in a certain way and it worked for them, but it's definitely not good advice for everybody. And to clarify, I through hiked the AT, I through hiked the long trail. I am definitely guilty of telling a lot of these lies myself. Sue me. So I am here to break down some of these big lies that you're gonna hear other through hikers telling you before you get on trail. And if you are a through hiker and you're telling these lies, I'm here to call you on your Let's get a realistic view of through hiking culture. All right, so one lie that I see people telling when they're talking about through hiking is that you don't need to train, you don't need to take care of your body, you don't need to eat healthy, you don't need to do any of this stuff because nothing that you can do can get you ready for through hiking. And the only way you're going to be able to train for a through hike is by through hiking, and that once you're out there, you're going to get your trail legs and you're going to be fit as can be in just a couple of weeks' time. Personally, I think that that is a total lie. Now, it is true. I see folks go to trail every single year who ate the same as they always did and barely stepped onto a treadmill or even walked outside. I see people who just went to REI, had never backpacked a day in their lives, and just put a bunch of stuff into a backpack and hit the trail. I have also seen a lot of through hikers get off trail, especially in Georgia, because they were in so much pain. Their legs were killing them, they had injuries, they just hadn't put in the work before they got to the trail, and the trail kicked their butt. So yeah, it's technically true that you can just show up to trail and start walking. It is never a good idea to just jump into something with zero preparation. If you showed up to the trail tomorrow and you hadn't looked into any of your gear and it was 20 degrees outside and you only packed a tank top and some shorts and yada yada, if you didn't put in that prep work, you would probably not even make it to the next town. You'd have to get freaking life flighted out. And accordingly, if you head to the trail and your feet aren't used to constant impacts or having all that weight on your back and you just kind of start walking, you're probably going to put yourself in a position to be more injury prone. So yeah, maybe I'm preaching to the choir on this, but if you come at me and be like, well, when I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2007, I didn't train at all and I made it all the way to Katahdin. Sick. Good job. Why did you do that? I don't know. I feel pretty harshly about this one. That one's an outright lie. If you want to hike next year and you want to train, go ahead and train. And if you don't have time to train or the desire to, head to trail and just be prepared to hike way lower miles and to really listen to your body and to stretch and take care of yourself, because you're going to put yourself in a position where you're more likely to get hurt. And just a caveat, I definitely met plenty of folks who trained their butts off and still had to get off trail. So this isn't like a foolproof way to guarantee you finish, but you might as well give yourself the best shot that you can. Okay, that's enough about that. Another lie that I hear all of the time is people saying that they are not going to need to take any 0 days, that they are planning on finishing the trail in 100 days and they aren't going to stop for anything and they're going to hike crazy big miles, yada yada. And whether this is because you have through hiking experience or maybe you're just incredibly athletic, maybe you're an ultra runner, I personally think that this is a lie. Because the reality is you can't plan for when your body starts to hurt. You can't plan for if you've never had a foot injury before and now suddenly your ankle is killing you. You can't plan for tripping downhill on Mount Madison and smashing your face into a rock. You can't plan for your tent breaking while you're on trail and now you have to wait to get another one shipped to you before you can head back out. There are a lot of things that you can't plan for when you're on trail. So if you're going to tell yourself that, I'm just not going to stay in any towns, I'm not going to take any zeros, I'm just going to hike the whole dang way, good luck with that. All right, so the number 3 thing that I see people telling lies about is their pack. Because a lot of people would say that they put a lot of effort into getting their pack as light as they possibly could. You know, they had lighterpack.com and they talked to all their friends and they watched all the YouTube videos, and now their backpack is as light as it possibly can be. I'm here to tell you that there's a really good chance that you're lying to yourself and you're lying to other people. Because there's a really good chance that by the end of the hike, you're going to look at everything that you carried and you're going to say, oh my God, I didn't need half this crap. That definitely happened to me. When I got off the AT, I looked at everything that I had as I was getting ready for my long trail hike, and I realized I don't need my camp shoes. I don't need this pad. I was carrying too many clothes. I was carrying like 30 pills of ibuprofen and this antibiotic if this happened and this antibiotic if that happened. Oh, and I had to have this pillow, but actually that pillow was like way too heavy. And oh, this pad was great, but actually I realized that that pad was like 2 pounds and really uncomfortable. I don't know. I think there's just a certain clarity that comes with experience and also with being super real with yourself about looking at your kit and determining what do I actually need and what do I not. And there are a lot of videos out there that have really unique tips about the ways that you can cut your pack weight. And I'm not talking about like cutting your toothbrush in half. I'm talking about like getting rid of your Swiss Army knife and only carrying around a little razor, or not carrying pajamas and instead just sleeping in your hiker clothes. There are a lot of ways that you can pretty ruthlessly cut down on your pack weight, and if you're telling yourself that your pack is as light as it possibly can be, and you really haven't done the work of rigorously going through every single ounce in your pack, have you really? And another lie that I hear people telling, especially when they're on trail, is that they don't care about how light their pack is. I met plenty of people that were hiking with 40 plus pound packs, and they would be like, oh, but I have everything that I need. I don't care about, you know, how heavy my pack is. Only weenies carry super ultralight packs. Going ultralight is too expensive. I can't afford it, yada yada. And look, if I see you carrying a frickin' 70-pound pack and your dog also has a backpack on, or like you're carrying a brick from Georgia to Maine for funsies, I'm gonna think like, dang, that person is pretty dang tough, because I sure as hell would not want to carry that much weight up a mountain. But the reality is, it's straight up not good for you. I think anybody could agree that carrying 40 plus pounds on your back for months at a time could lead to compressed discs, can cause knee issues, back issues. There are times where you might be trying to leap over some sort of gap on the trail and your backpack is so heavy that you could lose your balance and fall backwards. I've seen it happen. So people who say that they don't care how light their backpack is either are lying to themselves, because why would you want to feasibly carry way more than feels good on your body? Or maybe they're being lazy. And obviously I'm talking about the people that are carrying like 4, 5, 6 outfits, carrying an entire bottle of whiskey on trail, have hardback books, multiple hardback books, are carrying more than one tent, I've seen it, are carrying multiple sleeping bags, or have this in case this happens, or that in case that happens. I have 5 pairs of socks, yada yada. I'll be real. I've come along on this one, and my backpack is definitely not ultralight. I think the lowest I've ever gotten my pack weight down to in the warmer seasons has been like 12 pounds before water and food. So I'm definitely not the person who's sleeping on their shoes or like, I don't know, photosynthesizing for calories. But I'm also not the same person I was when I was carrying around a 30-pound backpack and being like, I'm having fun. I was having fun, but I definitely did not feel good when I got off the trail. Okay, that's enough about talking crap about heavy backpacks. Another lie that I see people telling about through hiking is that they have a strict schedule and they are sticking to it. And this kind of relates to the I'm not taking any 0 days thing. But for one, you cannot plan for when you need to take a 0 day. You can't plan for injury, you can't plan for illness, you can't plan for weather. If you think you're gonna be in New York exactly 98 days from now, cool, I wish you the best of luck. Why? I personally think that one of the best things about through hiking is not having this super strict schedule. If you're a working person, chances are that pretty much every minute of your day is scheduled, whether it's because you have to be at the office, or maybe you have to drop the kids off at school, or they have practice, or, you know, any number of things. And the nice thing about through hiking is the freedom of waking up with the sun and walking for as long as your body feels like walking for, and then settling down wherever it looks like a nice place to camp, and then going to bed when you feel like it. The freedom of thru hiking, to me, is the appeal of it. And if for you personally, you really like thru hiking because you can plot out every single moment of every single day for the next 6 months, I think that's a lie. And I think it's a lie you're telling to other people, that you're gonna have this incredible plan to be fully on track. I think you're lying to yourself. Live a little. Throw the spreadsheet out. Do what you gotta do. Another lie that I see people telling is that they're going to eat healthy the entire time that they're on trail. I was definitely one of the people telling this lie. Before I got to trail, I was a vegetarian, and I had said that I was going to prioritize eating meat again when I got on trail, because my worry was that if I was only eating vegetarian, I would get to a gas station, and instead of being able to eat the pre-prepared egg and meat thing in the fridge or getting a hot dog or something, I'd be forced to like eat a honey bun instead, which didn't really align with my goals of eating nourishing to fuel my body for the hike. And then the reality was, when I was hiking, even though I told myself I was going to be eating crazy healthy, I was eating whatever I wanted to. So I definitely lied to myself about my intentions for the hike. And I see a lot of people saying that they're going to eat keto, or they're going to eat a big salad with a big slab of fish on it every time they get to trail. And some people are really good. I met lots of vegans on trail who were very militant about what they were eating. And I was friends with this guy named Celery, who only ate celery as a snack, which I know isn't the most nutritionally dense, but he definitely was eating more celery than he was eating honey buns. And, you know, the jury's out about, you know, does your body actually suffer? Is it truly a game of calories in, calories out, yada yada? But all I know is, if you're telling people that you're going to eat healthy 100% of the time while you're thru hiking, I don't know, I think you're lying to other people, and I think you're lying to yourself. Everything in moderation, including moderation. Thank you, Michael Pollan. So yeah, my take would be, eat healthy most of the time, but be realistic about when your body is desperately telling you that it really wants like the most calorie dense, cheesiest, smothered freaking burger it's ever seen in its life. Because when you get home and you're not burning 10,000 calories every day, you're not going to be able to eat that big smothered cheeseburger with zero guilt. Another big lie that I see people telling when they're on trail is that their knees are so strong and their back is so freaking strong, they don't even need trekking poles. Guys, you need trekking poles. At least if you're on the Appalachian Trail, you need trekking poles. I don't know about the PCT. I know you need, what's it called? Ice axes on the PCT for self-arresting. There were moments where I used my trekking poles for self-arresting, especially when I was on the Wonderland Trail. But the reality is, if you are a human being who has joints and you are going up and down every single day, putting tons of impact on your feet and your knees and your back, you're not going to go home and be like, I feel great. Maybe if you're like 18 to 24, you're going to be like, I feel great. But if you're anything above that, if you're just putting constant stress on your joints and never stretching and never giving yourself any relief, you're probably going to leave with some knee damage. So yeah, if you're telling yourself you don't need trekking poles, I guess it depends trail to trail. But if you're going to be doing a lot of elevation gain and loss and you're carrying a big heavy backpack on your back, I don't know, I would argue that you need trekking poles. So stop lying to yourself and stop lying to other people that they don't need trekking poles. To me, it's not worth saving a couple $100, because when you need a knee replacement, that's going to be way more expensive. Another lie that I see people telling is that thru hiking is this insanely challenging, difficult thing, and especially on the Appalachian Trail, it is so hard and so isolating and impossible and yada yada. Guys, I've thru hiked the AT. I don't know if this is just some big agreed upon thing that all AT thru hikers like to tell people, but y'all, the trail is not that hard. It hurts, it's physically demanding, can be very mentally demanding with the bugs and the weather, the cold, the heat, being around people constantly, that can wear on people. But y'all, this ain't the CDT. The CDT, I would argue, is actually an incredibly difficult trail. It takes a lot of logistics. You're hundreds of miles from civilization, pretty much any given point. You're very rarely going through trail towns. Lightning is a real risk. Grizzly bears are a real risk. Mountain lions are a real risk. Those are the signs of an actually very difficult trail. On the AT, you're crossing a road pretty much every 4 miles. You've got water out the wazoo. You're hiking through arguably the most population dense area in the country, countless resources, countless hostels, countless hotels, countless restaurants. If you wanted to, you could arguably call the AT summer camp. I called the AT summer camp. I had a great time. I also had some hard times. I cried a lot. I almost got off trail. My feet hurt. My back hurt. I spent all my money. But like, if you're going to tell people, if you're going to lie, saying that the AT is this incredibly isolating, difficult experience and you really felt like you were alone out there, buddy, truly, like, the AT can be really hard, but it's not anything close compared to what some of these more difficult trails are. And let me be clear, the AT is a wonderful, wonderful trail, but I would never tell people that it was by far the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It was by far one of the most fun and physically demanding things I ever did in my entire life. And I wasn't crazy about mosquitoes or waking up in cold weather or the rain. But like, if I wanted to get off of trail, I could call a shuttle off a list of shuttlers and pay somebody to come get me, and then I would be in town within the hour drinking a beer and eating a burger. Like, you can't tell me that something is so insanely difficult when the amenities around it are so plentiful. So yeah, I'm gonna be clear, I love the AT. I love it, I love it, I love it. I think it is a lie to say that it is the hardest possible through hike that a person can do. Another lie that people love to tell, and this is sort of related, but they love to really exaggerate the hard parts of their hikes. That's regardless of what trail that they're on. They're going to tell you about the time that they got chased down by a grizzly bear, or they're going to tell you about the time that a rat crawled across their face. They're going to tell you about the time that they almost got struck by lightning, or the time that they heard coyotes howling from the hill over. People are always going to lie to you and really emphasize the incredibly scary or dangerous parts of their hikes, and they're going to leave out all of the really conveniently nice stuff about the trail magic and the time that they went to their friend's house and went boating on their parents' lake. They're not going to tell you about the time that a trail angel picked them up and took them to a restaurant. There are a lot of really amazing, beautiful, easy things about through hiking that are made extra special just because of how difficult the rest of the trail is, but I feel like it's disingenuous to really focus on the strenuous parts of the trail without being real about some of the sweeter parts of the trail. You can't have the sweet without the sour, right? So yeah, I think that people don't always give a super realistic picture of what through hiking is, and they really focus on the difficult parts instead of sharing some of the more mundane or even pleasant parts of through hiking. Like for me, and again, I definitely am guilty of this, when people ask me, how is the AT? I'm not focusing on the times where I woke up and crawled out of my tent and Fresh Ground had made blueberry pancakes. I'm telling people about the time that I almost busted my knee on a bog board in Maine. So yeah, I don't know, that's just human nature. Another lie that people really love to tell when they're through hiking, especially for the very first time, is that they're going to journal every single night. That is probably a lie. Guys, through hiking is really hard. I've talked about this in previous videos, but through hiking is mentally exhausting, physically exhausting. At the end of a really long 20-mile day, you're not going to want to sit down, especially if it's like 10 degrees outside. You're not going to want to pull your journal out and your little cold fingies write out, today I climbed a hill. Like, you're just not going to do it every day. And some people definitely do, and some people might. But I would say that the average through hiker who tells himself they're going to journal every single day is likely lying to themselves. And I think it's a very good-natured lie. I think everybody likes to think that they're going to be disciplined enough to reflect on their experience and do something as easy as pulling out their book or their journal or whatever and writing in it every night. But I honestly think that if everybody was just more realistic about, I plan to every day take a couple notes about what happened that day and then write a long journal entry at the end of the week or the next time I get into town, I think that people would feel less disappointed or less guilty when they come off trail and they didn't write as much as they told themselves that they would. And I've met a lot of people that said, well, I planned on journaling every day and then I missed a day. And then I felt guilty about the fact that I missed a day, so I wouldn't write the next day. Then I would tell myself I'd just pick it up in 2 weeks, and then I would never pick it up again, and then I felt really bad about it. And that's just human nature. Nobody likes to associate something that once seemed like really exciting and fun and novel for them with some sort of shame and guilt. It's like the same reason that you lose motivation when you're working out. It's because you had all these really big aspirations about working out every day and losing all this weight, and now you missed a day and, oh, I feel so guilty that I missed a day. I'm going to work out tomorrow. Oh, shoot, I missed tomorrow too. And then it just gets away from you. So yeah, maybe not so much a lie that people mean to tell, but definitely something that I've seen time and time again. And finally, the last lie that I want to address is maybe a controversial one, but I believe it's important to talk about because it has to do with safety. And personally, I'm really guilty about overplaying how safe I felt on the AT. And I think ultimately this is going to be the case for anybody that is hiking by themselves for long stretches of time, or around other people, or encountering other people, especially strangers, in remote places. But the reality is, the trails can be unsafe places. On the AT, for instance, and I've talked about this, I had multiple encounters in Pennsylvania with folks that I felt really unsafe around, or I was not happy to be alone with in any capacity. I would hear rumors about people harassing women on trail, or, figuring out where somebody was based on what video they uploaded on YouTube, and then triangulating exactly where they would be on trail at any given time. Pegleg, Madison Blagden, who thru-hiked the calendar year border-to-border Triple Crown last year. She hiked over 10,000 miles. She had a very contentious run-in. People were very much debating it when she had a encounter with someone who she claims was either trying to hurt them or may have been mentally unstable in Virginia at a shelter. And she was so shaken up by that she actually took off running. So yeah, I don't say any of that to scare you, and I'm definitely never going to be the person that's like, the AT is inherently unsafe, because I definitely don't feel that way. I don't feel that way about the PCT or the CDT. Honestly, I do actually truly believe that if you're walking by yourself in any major city, that you're probably more unsafe there in that moment than you are hiking by yourself out in the woods. And again, I'm never the person that is going to advise someone to get some sort of firearm or whatever, but I am the person that says that it is totally fine to listen to your intuition, to listen to your gut, and if something is telling you, oh, actually maybe I don't want to camp here, or oh, this guy's making me feel really uncomfortable, I want to get out of here, I think it's important that you are real with yourself, that there are people out there that don't have the best intentions, and even if nothing ever happens, at the very least you knew that you did everything you could to keep yourself safe. I think there's always going to be bad actors no matter where you go, and I think that it is a lie to tell people that you always are going to feel 100% safe on the trail, and that hikers are going to take care of their own, and if there is somebody on the trail that is a threat, that other hikers are going to warn each other and that person will eventually leave the trail. That's not always true. So yeah, I'm not telling you to be afraid by any means. I definitely felt safe 99.9% of the time when I was through hiking on the AT, and I felt safe 100% of the time when I was on the long trail, even when I was hitchhiking by myself, which I know is always controversial, but the reality is people be peoplein'. So just practice caution, and in the same way that if you're walking down a dark alley in Detroit, you would, be looking around you a little bit, you'd be like, who's around me? All right, y'all, that is a bunch of lies that I believe people love to tell other folks about through hiking, and whether they're lying to themselves or they're lying to other people outright, I think that they're still lies. Now, I might have been a little bit harsh here, but I think it's important to give a realistic picture of through hiking, because at the end of the day, it is an expensive adventure that folks could potentially quit their jobs to go do, and I just hate the idea of somebody being like, well, everybody online said it was amazing, and then they went to trail and they felt unsafe, or they didn't train enough and they got hurt and now they're in a financial issue, or yada yada. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong when people just sort of blindly jump into situations because they heard all of these wonderful things about through hiking, and then it turns out it really wasn't for them. But also the reality is that through hiking really truly isn't for everybody, and you're not going to stop every John, Dick, and Harry that wants to head to trail and give it a go. And the last thing I want to say is that regardless of all these lies, if you want to through hike and you're passionate about it and you want to put in the work and prepare yourself, do it. Do it, do it, do it. It changed my life. I loved it so much. But, just get the stars out of your eyes, because it's not always beautiful views and laughs with incredible people. Sometimes it's, oh shoot, I left my phone at the last shelter and I have to hike 20 miles back. And then as I was hiking back, I tripped on a rock and it started raining. And then I realized I lost my wallet, and then my trekking pole broke, and now I'm sad. Let me know what you thought of this video. If you have heard of any lies that other through hikers love to tell, please leave them below. Or if you think I was being unfair here, I'm always open to criticism. And finally, don't forget that if you are through hiking next year and you're interested in vlogging or blogging for the trek, I left a link in the description. Please go check it out. Again, my name is Sassafras. Thank you so much for watching, and happy hiking.